managing processes and putting
Yeah.
in some sort of standards, I mean, there has to be a certain point where you can actually, you are in a particularly good spot to see it. There's a definite correlation of getting processes, standards in place and growth.
Hmm.
And I don't know if a lot of people can actually see that directly as well as a person in your role.
Yeah. So like a good example for putting processes in place. A good example would be you take a traditional thing that an IT service org would have, something like a CMDB or some type of database for customer configurations. That's a standard thing you need to have, but with Stratum being cloud agnostic, right? We handle, in fact, the major three clouds will handle Azure, AWS, Google. How do you bring all of that into a common place, and how do you manage customers' environments and be able to look at it single pane of glass? That's stuff that we've had to develop. We've had to develop processes. How do you have a tool set? How do you administrate across multiple platforms and monitor across multiple platforms? Just to You have to build a lot of processes like that. And so that's kind of the day-to-day challenge for me is, okay, not getting pulled into the details beyond what you have to. But when people all have a problem that tends to run a common theme, you start to realize it. So in this example, developing an integrated CMDB is something that we're in the midst of, and it's working. But we're in the middle of that because I see a common thread. I see a thread around, okay, how do we show customers their environment in a single pane of glass without having to recycle the platform back to them? How do we have an operations team also have a similar but different pane of glass for troubleshooting and seeing the customer environment? How do
Mm-hmm.
we have a overlapping set of tools, monitoring tool set, management tool set, the platform itself, its tools? How do we have all of those together, organized in a way that people can seamlessly use them and keep customers happy? So yeah, a lot of process that kind of bears itself out. You can develop something that'll solve a lot of problems in a lot of places as long as you start with the basics and kind of grow it over time.
Right. So can you talk a little bit about putting in those processes and standards in place too? I'm sure, that this probably
Yeah,
helped regarding sizing projects, keeping pricing under control,
yeah,
making more consistent regarding that.
yeah. So like for professional services, stuff that we had to develop. We had to come up with, okay, what's the 80/20 breakdown, right? For things that we do, there might be 100 things that Stratum does, but 20 of them they end up doing 80% of the time. So what are our core competencies out of your laundry list of things you're okay with doing that you seem to be doing almost every day? Take those things and then figure out, okay, what are the steps? Now, if you had to list them out, what are the steps to doing one of those things? Break that out, build a work breakdown structure of, okay, here's the tasks that we take on. For example, VM migrations. With people moving to the cloud, we do a lot of VM migrations. So we internally defined what are the steps and how do we do a VM migration from traditional on-prem into a cloud platform. Break down those steps and then have some kind of solid estimation that scales. If it's 2 VMs or 2,000, how does it scale? How does the process change? And then have that pretty well understood and teach that internally, kind of internally evangelize. That's the process. So a new engineer comes on board, they have the technical chops, and we bring the process. It pretty much provides a predictable outcome each time. We could do things like a VM migration from on-prem or from one cloud platform to another, pretty much, I wouldn't say eyes closed at this point, but I mean, it's on autopilot as much as it can be for us. And you take that and you just kind of grow on it, right? So you add more things to that list. And once you've taken care of that core 20%, then you start looking at, okay, what's next and what's ahead of us, right? So that's kind of what we looked at. Okay, right now, Windows Virtual Desktop.
Mm-hmm.
With COVID-19 and pandemic running rampant, we see a lot of people working from home or needing to work at remote locations, both securely and stable having a stable platform they can work from, not their home PC, and securely secured workstations inside of a controlled environment. Well, how do you do that? Windows Virtual Desktop is phenomenal, but how do we take such a new or developing technology and standardize it? How do you standardize the deployment of that? How do you scale it? And how do you package it up and hand it to the customer, either to manage themselves or for us to manage? So all of that has to be built out and proceduralized, and that's kind of what we do on a daily basis on the operations side to provide the efficiency that we need to grow as a company.
Thank you for watching Stratum's Cloud Interrupted. If you like what you see, please subscribe, like, and share this video.